Hi folks, I'm Craig Taylor, and as always a huge thank you for joining me here on my YouTube channel, the Bushcraft Padawan. Regular viewers and subscribers will know that I am undertaking an online, year-long tree and plant identification masterclass with Kirtley from Frontier Bushcraft, with the aim of improving my incredibly poor tree and plant identification so I can make better choices about material selection when I'm out in the field. So we have just finished module 6, which by my reckoning means that we are halfway through the year, which we kind of are, and that we are halfway through the course, which we are. There are 12 modules to it, so I'm just over halfway. And I must admit that when I opened up module 6 a few weeks ago to start it, I had a huge sigh of relief and a feeling of a bit like a child in a candy shop, if you like, a child in a sweet shop. The reason for that was because modules 5 and 4, the preceding two modules, and I've mentioned this in these reflective videos that I record, they felt to me quite heavy going. There was a lot of content in them, and there was content that was pitched kind of at a level where, whilst they were useful to me, at the time they didn't feel it. They felt like a hard slog. They felt like it was almost slightly above my need or my skill set to be able to learn them. And I completely understand why Paul's got those modules in there, and I've mentioned that in these reflective videos as well. They just felt like hard going. Got to module 6, opened it up, and there was a sigh of relief, like I said, because there was less content in there, and also the content seemed to be very focused on particular trees or plant species rather than being much more holistic and general. So what did we look at? We looked at giant hogweed, which was something I'd been vaguely familiar with in one of Paul's, I think it was one of his teaser or trailer videos for the course. I was vaguely aware of it. Didn't realise just how nasty that stuff can be. And quite fortuitously, a week or two after watching that video, I was driving back from an overnighter and I saw it at the side of the road. So I pulled over, went over, took photographs, identified it, and actually found one of these hideous things actually out there at the side of a public road. And there's been lots of news interest and media interest in it here in the UK about that particular plant. Some children getting some really quite horrific burn injuries as a result of it, or chemical burn injuries as a result of it. So really pleased that I was able to see something in the online course and apply it to the real world and make that connection. That's what it's all about, of course. Paul looked specifically at hemlock water dropwort. We looked at some deciduous tree leaves. As we were looking at some of those deciduous tree leaves, I was able to sort of come to this area that I'm in now and recognise some trees that I'd spotted earlier in the year from just their bark or buds. And we also looked at plants that we can expect to see at this time of the year, and honeysuckle was mentioned by Paul. Wasn't aware that it was a plant that is very much wild as well as planted in people's gardens. And again, quite weirdly, I went out to my recently landscaped garden, put a lot of effort in with my wife a year or two ago, and I sat in our seating area and I just glanced over my shoulder, something that I've done many times, caught a smell of something, and it was honeysuckle. I'd been sitting next to this damn thing for a year or so at least, and there it was in the back garden. So it was nice to be able to use some of the skills from the tree and plant ID course in my own back garden rather than having to travel further afield. So that was a nice link back to the real world. This month I've also been fortunate to go on a business trip to Belgium, and on the way back from the conference that I was speaking at to the train station, I took a walk through a local park, found some very unusual trees in terms of the size of their leaves were massive, and each prominent tree in the park had a little concrete marker in the ground stating what its name was. It wasn't in English, and there, lo and behold, was the Latin name for it. So although I've always kind of pushed back against the Latin name, it is incredibly useful if you ever go to a foreign country or wandering through one of their parks. They have a concrete name marker in the ground. It will help you to be able to take the Latin name to translate to English and realise what tree you're looking at. So again, another nice opportunity to use the course content back in the real world, but in an environment in a completely different country to where I normally am. So that's been my month summary. It's been a good month. I felt like I've spent less time in front of the computer learning and more time out in the real world learning and applying, which of course I guess is what we're looking for. It's not meant to be an armchair course, it's meant to be a go out and apply it in the real world course. So I'm looking forward now to the next webinar, which I believe is next week, and the next level opening up, which should be around next week or the week after, module 7. As always, if you've enjoyed watching this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're watching this on Facebook, please do open it up in YouTube and have a look below in the description, because in there I've put some links to this giant hogweed plant, because depending on where you are in the world, it might be really important for you, for any dogs that you've got, children, family members, anything like that, to be aware of what this plant looks like and stay the hell away from it. So if you're watching on Facebook, thank you. Do open it up in YouTube though and just have a look below and for some of those links to find out more about this plant. Please do give it a thumbs up. If there's anyone in your network you think would benefit, as always, you know where that share button is. And if you're not yet a subscriber, thanks to those that are, please do click that subscribe button. It should be in this bottom corner of the screen, and you will be able to subscribe to my channel. As always, a big thank you for watching. Cheers.